The 13th and final round of the Supercars Championship takes us to South Australia for the Adelaide Grand Final. Located in the heart of Adelaide, we find the Parkland Street Circuit. First opened in 1985, this would be the venue of the Formula 1 Australian Grand Prix until 1995, when the event would be moved to Melbourne. Despite hosting Formula 1 for only 10 years, Adelaide holds a special place in Formula 1 fans' hearts, with it being the host of such iconic moments, such as Michael Schumacher's crash in the Damien Hill in 1994, Nigel Mansell's tyre failure in 1986 that cost him the world title, and of course where in 1993 Ayrton Senna would take his final victory. From when the track first opened, the Australian Touring Car Championship would race here as a support category to Formula 1, but only as an exhibition round. In 1999, the track would become a fixture of the official Supercars calendar as the season opener until 2020. In one of the oddest sagas in motorsports history, despite being one of the biggest events in South Australia, the then Liberal Stephen Marshall state government had chosen to rip up the contract for the event, much to the uproar of motorsports fans and Adelaide locals alike. In March 2022, a state election would see a new government elected, and despite the 2022 season already being underway, the Adelaide 500 was quickly revived in time to be the final round of the season, a position it's held ever since. This track is a 3.2 long kilometre clockwise street circuit made up of everyday roads and fenced-off parklands, with the run from the exit of turn 3 all the way down to turn 12 being regular streets they use daily on any other weekend, with the street section of the circuit providing tight 90-degree turns with hard concrete walls ready to bite, with the parkland section providing a more traditional permanent circuit feel with its sweeping open corners and grass runoffs, and of course the infamous centre chicane that comprises of turn 1 and turn 2. If you have the opportunity to visit the track, I highly recommend making your way down to turn 1 to visit the Ayrton Senna Memorial. During race weekends, this is only accessible after racing action has ended for the day. Hotspots for overtakes here can be mainly found around turns 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11 and 16. Chaos can be found just about everywhere here, but a flashpoint often is the sweeping exit of turn 8. Turn 8's ability to end a weekend of any driver is legendary, with last year alone seeing multiple crashes, and 2 drivers being forced to withdraw. Jackson Evans and Richie Stanway both were forced to withdraw after suffering concussion symptoms. Richie suffered a 52G impact while Jackson's crash registered as 25Gs. Last year saw a 2-race format, with the Saturday race ending in a 888 Racing 1-2, with Broc Feeney taking the victory. The Sunday race would see a last to first result for Will Brown, a cherry on top of Will's maiden championship. Brown was turned early in the event by Brodie Kostecki, sending him to the back of the field. Over the course of the race, Brown would work his way back up to the front, as Chaz Mostert and Broc Feeney fought for the lead. Contact between the two would see Chaz Mostert limping with damage. Broc Feeney would continue but would cop a 15-second penalty for the incident. This was on top of an already applied 15-second penalty for contact in the pit lane. Broc would cross the line first, but it would be Will Brown with the victory once the 30-second penalty was applied. Chaz Mostert would hold off Thomas Randall for third. Broc would finish 7th. Here we will see a format similar to what we saw in Sydney and Townsville with some tweaks, consisting of 2 30-minute practice sessions, 3 qualifying sessions, 1 for each race, 2 top 10 shootouts, 1 for the race on Saturday and 1 for the race on Sunday, 1 100km race, and 2 250km races. As always, all times are local track time, Australian Central Daylight Time. Starting on Thursday the 27th with practice 1 at 3:15pm, moving on to Friday for practice 2 at 10:30am. Qualifying for race 32 will be at 12:40. This qualifying will be using format 2, so we will see a 2-part session. Q1 will have all drivers on track for a 10-minute session. The top 10 drivers from that session will advance to Q2 for another 8 minutes to set the grid. They will set the grid for race 32, which will start at 4:20pm for 32 laps in a race distance of 100km. Rolling into Saturday with race 33 qualifying at 10:05pm. This qualifying will be using format 3. Like format 2, we will see 2 parts in this qualifying. Q1 will see all cars on track for a 10-minute session, but only the top 18 will continue to Q2. After an 8-minute session, the grid will be set from 11th onwards, with the top 10 drivers to advance to the top 10 shootout. That top 10 shootout will be for race 33, which will be held at 12:35pm, then rolling into race 33 itself, kicking off at 3:15pm for 78 laps for a race distance of 250km. Sunday will run the same as Saturday, with qualifying for race 34 at 10am, again format 3, the top 10 shootout at 12:35pm, and the final race of the year, race 34 at 3:10pm for another 78 laps. In the scenario that any of these races run long, time certainty has been set for 5:18pm for race 32 and 33. Time certainty for race 34 has been set for 5:13pm. Supporting Supercars this weekend, we have Super 2, Porsche Carrera Cup Australia, Aussie Racing Cars, and Trans Am. For those watching at home, this is a free-to-air round alongside Foxtel and KO. However, I do believe the Channel 7 and 7 Plus coverage will only cover Saturday and Sunday. As always with free-to-air, check your local TV guides. Moving on to the championship fight, we now have our final four, with Thomas Randall, Cam Waters, and Matt Payne failing to make the cut at Sandown. That just leaves us with Broc Feeney, Chaz Mostert, Will Brown, and Kai Allen. With the points reset, the gap from Broc Feeney in first and Kai Allen in fourth is now only 50 points. Out of these four drivers, whoever scores the most points against their competitors across these three races will be crowned the 2025 Supercars Champion. Some more noteworthy stuff here. This weekend will be the last time we see Taungurung Wurundjeri United race a Ford, and the last time we see Brad Jones Racing and Triple Eight Racing running a Camaro. As of next year, Taungurung Wurundjeri United and Brad Jones Racing will be racing the new Toyota Supra, and Triple Eight Racing will be switching back to Ford. This will also be the last time we see some of these drivers race full-time, with James Courtney and Nick Percat formally retiring, and Bryce Forward, Will Davison, and Jackson Evans left without a seat in 2026. It's not impossible that some of the latter drivers may return in the future, but it's not likely. And finally, we do have a wild card for this weekend. NASCAR Cup driver Austin Cedric will be driving the number 5 with Tickford as a wild card entry. And as an honourable mention, joining him but racing in Super 2 is 2025 NASCAR Xfinity champion Jesse Love. To tell us more about these two drivers, I sat down with Matt from the Brakehard YouTube channel. Alright, race fans, we're here with Matt from Brakehard to a little bit discuss about who these guys from America are. Matt, thanks for joining me. I know it's very early in the morning over there in the States.
Yeah, absolutely.
No we've brought you on because you're very into NASCAR and the American scene over there, a lot more than what we ever could be. Also, we've been following your content for a long time. So I think we'll start off with, tell us a little bit about Austin Cindric.
Yeah, so Cedric's an interesting one. So obviously he's coming down to race in the top class with you all down in Supercars. He's a guy that has a really diverse racing background, whether it be from NASCAR. Obviously, he ran ARCA Trucks Xfinity. Now he's in the NASCAR Cup Series. He ran a season of USF 2000, which is like the feeder series to Indy NXT, which is the feeder series to the IndyCar series. So kind of like third tier open wheel. He also ran Global Rallycross. He's run IMSA Sport Cars. He's kind of got a really diverse racing background, cut his teeth on road courses. And when he came into NASCAR, that was sort of the thing that everybody looked for him to succeed at. Picked up his first win in the Truck Series on a road course, picked up his first wins in the Xfinity Series on road courses. He's got 5 Xfinity Series road course wins. In the NASCAR Cup Series, he hasn't had the same road course success that we've seen him have in the lower series, but he's a guy that you can kind of consistently, rely on to get you a top 10. And especially with this new Gen 7 NASCAR Cup car, which shares similarities with the Gen 3 Supercars car, which we've seen SVG and Will Brown and other people come over and be super comfortable in right away. Cindric has been good, but he hasn't had that race winning speed yet. And I don't think it's necessarily because Cindric's not a good driver, hasn't adapted, or maybe can't compete at the cup level at that. I think it's just kind of falls onto Penske, who hasn't prioritized road courses like they have other tracks. Like Penske's really strong on short tracks, flat tracks, things like that, super speedways where we've seen Cindric win multiple times now. But on the road course side of things, it's almost like they punt on those and they're like, we'll focus on the other things because that's not what's going to win us a championship.
Okay. So obviously he's quite good on road course, stuff like that. So probably no real surprise to anyone over there that he's come over here to have a crack at Supercars. Now he's racing with Team Penske. Am I correct in that one? Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
he's on the team.
We know
Penske.
they've got a few Gen 2 Supercars. Has he had any experience with those? Either part of his NASCAR preparation or even preparation for this?
I would imagine they are. I haven't seen any photos or people haven't said that they've taken them out and tested them. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. I think that is certainly a way for teams to skirt the no testing policy in NASCAR. We've seen Richard Childress Racing has one as well on the Chevy side of things that their drivers have certainly taken a crack at from time to time in the off season. So I think it's something that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. And I'm sure the Ford Sim in Charlotte, they've also taken some laps around that in a supercar to see sort of what it's like. But yeah, I think it's going to be a wake-up call when he heads down there. And it's not to say that Austin Cindric can't drive. He can absolutely drive. But as you know, the type of driving in supercars, along with what you have to do. I think he said he was on a podcast earlier this year, and before they even announced their deal, he said SVG texted him and was like, "Better learn how to heel and toe because that's what you have to do, like to be successful." So, I'm sure he's been working on it. I really talented driver, but I would not expect him to contend for even a
Yeah,
top
I
10.
think I was hearing on one of our podcasts we have down this way, where really if he can have any top 20s would be great for him, and as well as like Adelaide is really probably not the most ideal track to come
Mhm.
in on. I don't know how much you know about it. It's very Chicago like in some parts. I
Yeah.
think if I was anyone down here talking to him, I'd be like, be very wary of turn 8. Turn 8 has taken out several drivers. I
Yes.
think last year we had 4 drivers taken out by the corner by concussion. Like just, I think
Oh.
Jackson Evans hit that wall at 56 G's side on and wrote the car off. Plus was sidelined for the weekend.
So I follow supercars from sort of a
Mm.
distance. I keep track on who's winning and sort of how the championship's playing out. One thing about Adelaide that I don't understand, maybe
Yeah.
you can explain it to me, that turn 8 section. Why don't they move the wall back a few
I think
meters?
I have to look onto a map. I'm pretty sure because what we do, it's like dual carriageway. It's like 2 lanes one side, a little bit of a medium strip, and the 2 lanes the other side. And I'm pretty sure, like,
Yeah.
so I have to look into it a little more just off the top of my brain. But I'm pretty sure there's no more further for that wall to go out. But there is allowances. I know there's at least a metre or so, as per Australian motorsports FIA regulation. There has to be always space for the wall to move. Like I can imagine it's probably the same
Okay.
over there. That
That
all the
makes
walls
sense.
are connected, so when they take
Yeah.
impact, which is what happened last year with that 56 G impact, is it moved the whole wall back. I think it was good. It was a good meter. And it delayed the session. It was qualifying, delayed the following session for 45 minutes while they pushed it all back. So, yeah, it's one of those corners where, and then the argument always comes, we have this same argument every year. Everyone gets hurt on turn 8. And we go, should we make it safer? And then the argument is, we should be make it safer. And then, well, hang on, these are the best drivers in the country. They should be great enough to
Mhm.
not hit turn 8. And then we do it all again the following year. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like us over here where we talk about um tire packs are a big talking point in NASCAR right now because trying to cut down on corner cutting is put at places like Circuit of the Americas and stuff. They're putting tire packs around, and everyone's talking about, oh, how dangerous this is, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
don't hit them. Like that's kind of the gist here. But yeah, Cedric, I when it comes to Adelaide, you mentioned Chicago street course and everything like that. I had Cedric's stats pulled up right here. He has a 6th place finish in 2022 at Chicago and then has kind of struggled other than that. But in 2022, that was a mixed conditions race, so it rained that year as well, which really helped SVG kind of jump out to that lead because he was so much more comfortable than all of
Mm.
our guys on that. So yeah, I think Cindric is really talented, but like you said, I think top
Yeah.
20 would be
Yeah,
the
even just to
goal.
keep all 4 corners on the thing would be great. He's obviously running with he's going to run I believe it's going to be number 5 because typically when Tickford run a wild card to number 5, with Tickford
Mhm.
racing there. Look, they're pretty good. They're probably in our top 5 teams. They're really well known for being majorly inconsistent. So like at the beginning of the
Okay.
year, Cam Waters, their primary driver, swept all 3 races with a pretty strong margin, and then they've been sort of nowhere for the mid season, and they've kind of come back. So he's not with a horrible outfit. He's just with an inconsistent outfit. But yeah. Well,
Okay.
I know he's getting some seat time. I know I believe he did a ride day today where I don't know if NASCAR does it, but over here we have opportunities with certain rate, like we have permanent circuits that they can invite sponsors and VIPs down. They'll throw a second car in the second seat in the car and do ride day. So I'm pretty sure
Okay.
they threw Austin in the car with Cam Waters today, do a couple of laps. I've heard a rumor that apparently they might try and do that with Brody Kostecki's car, which is he's
Mm.
with Dick Johnson Racing, which is another Ford back team. That give him some laps
Yep.
during the ride day, and then I believe between here and Adelaide, he's going to go to the Bend Motorsport Park to do a official test day, which it will give him time in
Okay.
the car in these new Gen 3 cars. But the Bend is very I guess Watkins Glen would probably be my best American equivalent of it. It's like very open, A lot
Yeah.
of wide sweeping corners. I don't think there's really a braking zone, so how well they're preparing for Adelaide, I'm not really too sure.
Yeah, we don't have so when it comes to like the testing over here, it's so
Mm,
strict on it. If you're like a first time driver coming into the series, NASCAR will grant you sort of like a
mm,
rookie test just to get acclimated. And usually it happens at a place that we don't race at, like a Virginia Motorsport Park or something like that, or Virginia International Raceway, sorry. Um, Something close to the Charlotte area, but isn't a track that you can gain a ton of knowledge on. Um, if we could throw a second seat into these Gen 7 cars, that would be fantastic just from a
yeah.
sponsor standpoint, just to rip people around.
Mm. No, yeah. So I would love. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Nah, so that would be interesting for him to see how he goes in Adelaide, especially if we get any footage out of the bend. Now moving on to the
Yeah.
second American driver come down here, Jesse Love is having a crack at Super Two, which for anyone that's not aware, Super Two would be our equivalent to Xfinity Series, the second class down. Which over here we use the older cars, so all the cars in Super Two are last generation cars. So yeah, what's the go with Jesse?
So first off, I didn't realize that Super 2 cars were the old
Mm.
generation supercar car. That's what NASCAR should be doing. Kind of is what they're doing in a sense with the chassis from the old Gen 6 Cup cars and now Xfinity cars, but
Well,
that's a
that's
great way
how
to save
they.
some money. Um,
Sorry, that's how. Yeah,
no, go ahead. Go
so
ahead.
we're gonna be like, yeah. That's how it started. Because originally, when we began to go from like your production car, your standard road going cars modified to proper race cars, 4 5 was in. All the big teams were like, oh, we got no one to sell it to, so they literally created Super Two, so they could sell all their old equipment to smaller teams. Yeah.
Smart.
So yeah,
Super smart.
so I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so Jesse Love, he is an interesting prospect. He's a guy that is wildly competitive, very, very fast, not necessarily with the top tier Xfinity team right now. And I say that after he just won a championship, but the way we determine a champion, kind of like how you're going to get to
Yeah.
experience a little bit this year with how Supercars is doing it, is maybe not the best way to do it. So Jesse Love's got 3 wins. Technically he's crossed the finish line in first 4 times, but he was disqualified at Rockingham earlier this year. He's a really good super speedway racer. When he came up through the ARCA series in 2023, he won 10 of the 20 races, like just a lights out season. He beat Connor Zilic, who was supposed to come down and do supercars, and then ultimately they punted on that, which is a bummer because that would have been great for GM to send somebody down to race in the top tier. But he beat Connor Zilic at Watkins Glen, albeit Connor Zilic had a broken track bar, so he was a little bit hindered there. But he's a guy that has speed, and especially at a place like Chicago, he has a 5th place and a 6th place finish in his 2 races there. And the Chicago Xfinity fields the last 2 years have been absolutely stacked. Like, one, you have the race against Shane Van Gisbergen, so that kind of sucks for anybody else because he's going to be up front. Connor Zilic was in it this year. Kyle Larson last year. Like, you're getting top tier Cup guys or top tier international talent as well coming over to race it. So the fact that he has been able to run as well there is pretty impressive. The downside to him is like he's still young, like in every sense of like still trying to mature and figure out things on the racetrack. And I think that might be for me when I watch him, the one flaw of him is sometimes he takes risks that he doesn't need to take, and maybe just doesn't think all the way through what's happening out in front of him. But in terms of maturing as a race car driver, I think over the last year, especially the second half of this year in the Xfinity Series, he's gotten so much better at making good decisions. And when they announced that he was going down there, I was like, that's an interesting pick,
Mm,
but it's not a bad pick, especially for if he was going straight to supercars like with Cedric. I'd be like, oh yeah, this is not going to do
mm.
very well in my opinion. But I think Super 2 is a really good opportunity for him, and I'm glad that GM is taking somebody down there, even if it's for Super 2. And I think Jesse Love is just an interesting prospect because he's got Cup dreams. Like, he wants to be in the Cup Series desperately. There's just really no good pathway for him, at least for 2026. So yeah, I think getting to see what he can do is going to be a really
Do
fun
you
thing.
think if you just said he might not have much of a pathway over there, do you think if he does well here, or at least gets some footing, do you reckon that could be something that he might look at of Maybe I want to go be a big fish in the small pond of Australian racing, opposed to the big pond of US racing.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about it that way. I think that he really wants a shot at the Cup Series to see what he can do. I know he's been courted by multiple different Cup teams about like his future prospect. He re-signed with RCR for next year in the Xfinity Series. 2027 is going to be a big shakeup year for NASCAR in terms of the amount of drivers. There's like 20 drivers next year going into 2027 that's contracts are expiring. So there's a possibility for a lot of driver movement around. And I think Jesse probably is going to end up in a pretty decent ride if things play out for him. But the prospect of him potentially being able to be sort of that big fish in a small pond may play into something that he would want to do. I don't know if he would want to do it just yet, though.
And being with Super Two, so our Super Two races a little bit like Formula Two. They're kind of chaos every time. So he'll probably get more on track action than what Austin will, purely because everyone in Super Two, majority of them are young blokes trying to find their way up. And we run with Super Two. They're timed races because we used to have issues of. I think 2 years in a row we had more safety car laps than we had green flag laps. So we made them time races to kind of make that issue look like it went away.
Right.
But there's a little bit, not everyone there's as well crafted in terms of, because most guys only want to do 2 or 3 years there max, and then either they get into main game, like quite a few of them have this year, or they go Porsche Carrera Cup, or they go overseas, or co-driving. So I think we'll see, probably out of highlights, probably see a lot more out of Jesse Love, and he's with a good effort as well with Terry Whitehoon's Jimmy. Sorry, it is very late. Terry Whitehoon's Image Racing, which they're currently running four cars, I believe. So
wow.
Jesse will be their 5th. But no pit stops or anything like that, which is something Austin will have to do. Austin will have to do with pit stops where they don't.
I didn't
just
even think
flat
about
sprint
that.
race. Yeah.
Yeah.
And which with us, it's very chaotic in terms of how narrow the pit lane is, probably compared to NASCAR racing.
Yeah, that is true. That's something that we don't have. Well, in a couple places we have to deal with a narrow-ish pit road, but yeah, that's going to be interesting. I also just remembered like they're going to have to drive on the other side of the car. Like that is going to be something that they're really going to have to adapt to. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch and see what they can get done, especially in both series for these two guys. I just wish that on the Chevy side of things, on the GM side of things, they could have gotten Larson, Zilich, even Kyle Busch to go down and do it, and all 3 of those guys, elected to not do it this year. So,
yeah.
But I'm excited to see what Jesse can do in Super 2.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we've been pushing. I think ever since Shane went and did it, I think we've always been trying to push to get someone down here. So I think last year it might have been their name escapes me. It wouldn't be Chase Elliott, maybe not. There was big talks that was only going to come down for Adelaide, and then like with the Connor Zilich thing, it all fell apart pretty midway through.
Yeah.
But no, I think it'll be very interesting. Yeah, I think they're both going to have a kind of hard time struggling. I think Jesse would look a little bit better only because he's in a bit of a rougher pack. But with Austin in sort of in the main game, he's probably going to get left behind. He's probably going to be running his own little race for the majority of the time, which is why we definitely want to see someone come down and do a GM main game thing, because at least then we would have two guys to compare to each other, and would at least create a bit of rivalry in their own little fight.
No, I completely agree with you there. I part of me thinks that guys don't want to go down just because of how tough the series is, and like having watched Shane come over and be as quick as he was, and obviously just absolutely dominated the Cup Series this year on road courses. And then even seeing a guy like Will Brown, when he came over last year to run Sonoma with Richard Childress, he was incredibly fast. That car just kind of had electrical issues all weekend. They've adapted super well. And I wonder if Cup guys worry about going to Australia and struggling and not having that same sort of success that the other guys have had coming over here, and being like concerned about what the image looks like for that. But it's a competitive series. And I don't think there's any shame in going down there and competing, especially when supercar guys do this every single week. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you expect them to be better.
No,
Just
well,
is what
yeah.
it is.
Well, you see that with and we had Jack Perkins go over a
Yep.
few months ago, and Jack's been retired from full time racing for at least 5 or 6 years. He only does co-driving around, which means he only drives about 2 or 3 times a year. And even
Okay.
just seeing how competitive he was even surprising for us. You know, considering how long he's been. He was never like I wouldn't say he was never a big driver. He's
Yeah.
well known mainly because his father was a big name in the sport as well. But just to
No,
see,
because
yeah,
yeah, seeing him be competitive, I think at Portland, he was running
yeah,
top 5 in
mm,
that race. And I remember watching that being like, all right, like I didn't think this guy was going to be as good as he is because like you mentioned, he was not been racing for a while because I looked him up because I didn't know who he was. And I didn't expect much. I thought he was just a guy that came over and bought a ride just to buy one. And then all of a sudden he's running top 5 and I was like, "Oh, damn, maybe he
mm,
can actually get something done here." So, yeah, I think the level of road course drivers that Australia turns out is wildly impressive. At least what we've seen over the last few years since more have started to come
mm.
over. Um, one thing I have for you, who do you think is going to be the next guy from Australia to make that jump and try to come to NASCAR and do what Shane has tried to do?
I in terms of just coming over to have a crack, I know Broc Feeney, who's Will Brown's teammate, and is
Yep.
currently leading the championship in our own week on finals instead of playoffs.
Yep.
We know that he was trying to put the money together 2 years ago. It couldn't quite happen. He almost had a deal for this year, and then something fell
Yep.
apart on the American side. So by sounds of it, he's gonna, I imagine, probably get a run next year at some point. In terms of anyone going over to have a proper crack like Shane did, I think the only one that I can think of would probably be Cam Waters. Cam's done a lot of
Hmm.
sprint tracks. He's come over. I think he's done one race at I
He
think.
did 2 cup races, I
Mm,
think, and then he did a couple of truck races as well on ovals.
yes, yeah,
Like he did Kansas and Martinsville. I think are those 2 that come to mind
yeah,
that he did.
yeah. I just remember him running the Orcas car. Um,
Yes.
so probably yeah, Cam Waters would be the next one. But I think with Shane though, Shane was sort of where he was with his career at that point was he was a 3 times Bathurst 1000 winner, or well 2 time by the time he won Chicago. I think he won Bathurst a little bit after Chicago for the third final time. He was a 3 time super, series champion and dominant. Like once Scotty left, and him and Scott McLaughlin both being obviously Kiwi boys, when they were racing together, they were Kiwi boys
Mhm.
in opposite outfits. Shane was the GM factory team, Scotty was in the Ford Penske factory team. So the rivalry they had from 2018 through to when Scotty left was pretty heated. I think
Right.
Shane was a mixture of he done it all. Like in 22, he was so dominant. I think we had 34 races, and Shane won 22 of them, including Sandown, where this is where he broke his collarbone. Well, at this
Yeah.
point, we didn't know it was broken. We thought he fractured it. We didn't know about his broken ribs. We literally Red Bull Racing literally had Garth Tander, their co-driver slash backup driver,
Mhm.
helmet there ready to go because I thought he'll go out and practice, be sore, get out of the car, stay in the car. I think he qualified for the first race, second last, and drove the thing to a win in the wet, and then dominated the final 2 races. So like, what we don't get to watch. Well, at least I don't get to watch many NASCAR races purely because for us they land about 8 a.m. Monday morning.
Yeah.
But I did, but Sequence managed to be able to watch the Shane race and some of the moves he was doing, like that final move he did during that final restart when I don't know, I can't remember the name of the driver that got
Justin
past
Haley.
Justin Hay
Yeah.
got past him,
Yeah.
and Shane sort of did the switchback on him. Like I was
Yep.
watching with my mate, and we just both started laughing because we'd seen that maneuver from him so many times that we knew exactly where it was coming from. But I think Shane was just at the end of his. He had nothing more to prove here. I know he didn't like these Gen 3 cars. He wasn't a big fan of them, especially because he's so much of a bigger guy. These cars are a lot smaller than what they used to be. I
Yeah.
think they actually had to make him bigger for him. He was the main complaint that they had to move some stuff around. And I think for him, he just wants something new. Where everyone else, I look down the field now, and like Cam Waters, he still hasn't got his main championship. He always wants one. He still hasn't won
Mhm.
Bathurst, and for here down here, winning Bathurst is more important than winning the championship. Like
Right.
Most fans, we can name the champion, but everyone can name who won Bathurst this year. So I think to not tick that box would be a hard one for anyone to walk away from full time.
Yeah, I completely understand the Bathurst thing. It's like the Indy 500 and the IndyCar series. Like nobody really cares about who wins the IndyCar championship. Over here, it's about who wins the Indianapolis 500. So yeah. One thing you mentioned about Scott McLaughlin, I really want him and Shane to race in the Cup Series together, or NASCAR's in, I think, Phoenix next year when the NASCAR Truck Series is running a street race in St. Petersburg, Florida with IndyCar on a joint weekend, which is probably going to be absolutely chaotic just because the trucks on a street course is not a great mixture. But Scott is there that weekend, and I would love for him to be able to run a Chevy and Shane to be able to run a Chevy, but NASCAR's in Phoenix that weekend as well. The Cup Series is. So it would be a bummer, but I would like to see those two go head to head stateside at some point.
Yeah, we're the same. We always want them to do a co-drive. A wild card at Bathurst. Like obviously, a couple things go against that. One, that they're now in opposite camps, both sponsorship wise and like, they're both in the Chev camp, but
Both in the camp, yeah.
Scotty's always said he always has his loyalties back to the main Ford team down here, as well as obviously calendars and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll share with you something. This is how heated they got. So Pukekohe used to be, it's a track that's now gone now, but that used to be the only New Zealand race. And obviously for those two blokes, they wanted to win that round. And a couple of years, I think it was 2021 or 20. No, sorry, it would have been 2019. And they had a real big fight. And when it comes into the podium, we do the same thing Formula 1 does. So we get 1, 2, and 3 cars parked up. Shane put his Commodore right up against Scotty's car. Scotty couldn't get out. So Shane's out front doing the interview. Yeah, it was great to have this win. And in the background, like, Scotty's pushing over the plexiglass window. So he's trying to wrench himself out. The DJR mechanics are arguing with the Red Bull mechanics that they need to move the car. The Red Bull mechanics are just ignoring him because they know what Shane's done. So this is the kind of bullshit they used to pull off.
But you need that in sport. Like I like that level of rivalry.
Yeah.
I wish we had more. Yeah, I wish we had more of that on the NASCAR side of things. Like we get some rivalries and stuff, but like right now for Shane, like there's no rival for him on road courses. I mean, he's winning by 15, 18 seconds each race. Like it's good for our guys like stateside here to kind of get beat that badly. Because one thing Shane has done is he's come in and shown these guys just how far you can push a car and like how to drive a road course. Like we thought these guys were good. Like we thought Chase Elliott was really good in the Gen 6 car. We thought Kyle Larson was good. Then we saw Shane Van Gisbergen and we're like, oh, you guys are okay. He's really good. But I wish he had a rival on a road course. Like I wish there was somebody that could kind of match him, sort of turn for turn. And we saw Kyle Larson try to do it a little bit this year at the Charlotte Roval in the fall. But once Shane got the lead, it was like, all right, well, see you later. We'll never see you again, basically, that type of thing. And he won by 10 seconds or whatever it ended up being. But yeah, it's been super enjoyable to have him over here. One, I think it's made NASCAR fans more sort of, aware of the Supercar series, which is a good thing because I think it deserves to get more recognition, especially stateside. But he's been good just in general to have him here and sort of push these guys to be better. And next year, he's got Connor Zilic as a teammate. So he's probably the best American road course racer that we have to offer right now. So it'll be really fun to watch those two guys go head to head. And we're going to get it third race of the year at Circuit of the Americas the first weekend of March, I believe. So yeah, it's going to be quick.
No, well, yeah. Enjoyed Shane, trust me. We as soon as Scotty left, we got to enjoy 3 years of Shane doing Shane things.
Yes. No, he's been super fun. Like I think that he is probably one of the most likable characters right now, drivers in NASCAR, and same with Scott on the IndyCar side of thing. Both of them have started to really amass pretty good fan bases, and like Shane's got a ton of merch for sale. I don't know how Supercars does like your driver merch and stuff at races, but in NASCAR we have like haulers set up where you can walk up and purchase merch from. And Shane's each year has started to become a bigger and bigger section within the trailer, which is really fun to see.
Yeah, we do the same thing, but this is how big the NASCAR thing is, because we are getting a lot more NASCAR fans coming across like the Supercars subreddit's always full of questions from NASCAR fans. Why this? Why that? But like even we're getting Shane's NASCAR merch, which is very different from our Supercars merch. The way it's all like, we have collars and stuff, and it's a bit different. But we're getting it over here. Yeah. So it's so weird to see. Because one thing too, all the teams, there's like an embargo deal, so all the teams have the same manufacturer. So all the shirts and stuff, the exact same. They're just different logos, different brandings, and all that.
Yeah.
So it shows how big the NASCAR effect has been over here, that we're getting NASCAR merchandise from the States being sold by Supercars, basically. And,
that's really cool.
And whenever he wins, we hear about it for weeks. Like, that's all the commentary talks about now. Of course, this is the driver that stepped in for Shane Gisberg after he left to the United States. You know, I'm like, yeah, we get it, man. Trent's been gone for 2 years.
Yeah. Right. We understand at this point. No, I think he's been really good for the sport. And I'm a guy that, like, I'm really impartial when I watch races. Like, I don't have a rooting interest. I just want to see a good race, have a good storyline. I bought Shane merch this year at one of the races, and that's the first time I bought driver merch in a decade, probably. Just because it's really well done. It doesn't look like other NASCAR merch for the most part. And like, I just respect a guy that's in his mid-30s, wants to come over and try something new. Like, he could have stayed in Australia and dominated, right? Like, he could have done that. And he elected to, you know, take a chance and come over and do a track house deal, and see how that works out. And obviously picked up 5 wins this year, put himself in the playoffs, and we'll see how the NASCAR championship format works out for next year. But he's getting a lot better on ovals too. The second half of this year, like, he really started to figure it out. And I think once he sort of cracks that code in his own head, like, he's got probably a 5 to 8 year period here before he starts to get into his 40s, where you start to slow down a little bit, at least on the NASCAR side of things, that he could be dangerous, which is a fun thing to watch.
No, I think we're watching, because that's always a criticism when we're watching him, is like, the fucking ovals, man. Like, just come on, try and figure it out. About, like, what, he's got 2 top 10 finishes this year.
2 top 10s this year, and should have had probably 2 more as well in the second half of this year, but ended up like 11th, I think, or 12th, somewhere around there. And it's like, dang. Just the one thing I think he struggles with, or at least from me watching from the outside, is when the run starts to get longer, he struggles maybe more towards the end of a run and loses a little bit of pace, on whether it be tires or just setup in general. But overall, like, even Las Vegas, a place I didn't expect him to be good at. It's a high speed 1.5 mile racetrack, and he's up there just ripping the wall inches from it. And he really figured out how to run the high line here. And it's like, okay, he's got it now. And I'm sure having this off season, he's probably like, could not have come at a worse time, just because he's really starting to figure it out. And now he's got to wait 3 months before we get back to Daytona. But yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I only see so much NASCAR. The third stage is always quite a bit longer than the first 2. So, do you reckon if it was, like, say, an even split, do you reckon he would be doing a lot more better in those final stages?
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, we'll kind of break it down for that. Like, we'll say Bristol. Bristol's 500 laps is a half-mile short track. And the first 2 stages will be like 125, 125. And then the second stage will be 250. So the second half of the race is all one stage, basically. And that's sort of how a lot of ours are broken down. Some of them are a little bit different. But yeah, if they were able to break that third stage up into, like, and create a 4th stage, like, I think he might be a little bit better there. But I think it's something he and Stephen Dorn, his crew chief, and that whole Trackhouse team has sort of been working on, is getting that pace through the entire race. And we've seen Ross Chastain, his teammate, he's really sort of excelled at that, especially putting complete races together. And I think that's really helped Shane start to move along, and having Connor there next year as well, because he's been really good on ovals this year in the Xfinity Series, will help as well.
Mate, I think I'll wind up there, because otherwise we're gonna just end up talking about Supercars and NASCAR all night.
100%, yeah.
Which I'd love to do, but I've got to drive 3 hours to Sandown in the morning, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure my girlfriend's loving hearing me yell through the walls. So we'll end it up there, mate. For anyone that doesn't already follow, for anyone that doesn't already follow you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok at Brakehard. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Brakehard blog, and then on YouTube at Brakehard as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on and spending your morning talking supercars. And I really will talk again one day.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Hope you enjoy your night. We're on opposite ends of the spectrum here. So I'm getting started. You're getting ready to go down.
Yeah. Right. Have a good one, mate.
Thanks, man.
Again, a big thank you to Matt for coming on for a chat. If you haven't already, go give him a follow and a like. He's doing awesome stuff over there in the States. And that's our not so short preview of round 13 and our last preview of the 2025 season. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more content over the off season and leading into 2026. I'm Dan Southey, and enjoy this weekend's racing in Adelaide.